Hey everyone, this is Northern Kyle, and today we're going to be talking about positioning. First we will talk about what it is and why it is important, and then we will go into detail on some topics to help you improve it. Positioning in Overwatch is your location relative to enemies, teammates, and map features. Depending on where you have decided to locate yourself at any given time, is what determines if you are in a good position. And the reason you want this good positioning is so that you can survive longer and have an advantage over your enemies. In order to be in a good position, you should first be familiar with the various maps in the game. You need to know where the enemies can approach and defend from so that you can set up appropriately. This example shows you defending on Volskaya Industries. There's a couple ways to enter through the main entrance and also some flank positions you need to be aware of. The green highlights at the upper portion of the picture are the main routes, and the purple highlights on the right portion of the picture are the flank routes. Gathering this sort of information on every map will keep you alert, and you also won't be surprised if you find a tracer behind you on the point or something like that. And knowing all these positions on every map will allow you to set up in better positions to give you an advantage over your enemies. One feature that you can take advantage of in maps is high ground. High ground gives you a better view of the battlegrounds, increased cover, the element of surprise, and a better offensive position. Some hero abilities and weapons also shine in the high ground position, such as Soldier's Helix rockets and Pharah's rocket launcher. The first clip here shows me using high ground to my advantage. I use it for cover and to peak damage when I can on the enemy soldier. It allows me to aim my Helix rocket more easily and control the pace of the battle. The enemy either needs to retreat to a more defensive position or risk dying on the point. This clip shows me dying extremely quickly on the low ground despite landing a nice Helix rocket. Next we're going to talk about zones. This is the area of influence you have around your hero or the enemy has around their hero. Let's imagine a Roadhog at the front gates. What do you think his area of influence looks like? It correlates directly to his hook range because this is where he is most dangerous. So the majority of heroes probably don't want to be standing in the highlighted red area. So where is it safe to stand? I've highlighted some possible choices here, with the yellow being okay and the green being better because of the high ground. Now of course you won't be standing in the green area with all heroes, it just doesn't make sense with some of them. For example, if you're Reaper, there's a good chance you're hiding somewhere in the red zone to get a flank on the enemies when it's appropriate. The highlighted areas more show the level of safety, with red being the least safe and green being the safest. Now it's important to note that some heroes actually change the zones of your enemy. Reinhardt is a good example of this. Let's say Reinhardt is set up with his shield on the left side of the main entrance. You need to ask yourself, how is this going to impact Roadhog's zone? It reduces Roadhog's lethal zone by making the area behind Reinhardt very safe. And the picture here really illustrates why it's not a good idea to stand in front of Reinhardt's shield. It's just not safe. Alright, let's get rid of the Reinhardt and let's put Soldier up on the center building. This clip shows how Soldier is able to deal damage while maintaining his safety, and that should be your goal with any position. You want to be in a location where you can deal significant damage, support your team effectively, or block damage effectively while maintaining the highest level of safety. But we all know you can't stay in the same position forever, and this brings us to our next topic, dynamics. The zones we saw earlier were only a snapshot in time. In reality, those zones are constantly changing depending on how the game is unfolding. Let's take our previous example and imagine Roadhog is charging up the right side. You can't stay on top of the building anymore because you're soon going to be in his hook range. You need to create space to maintain your safety. Creating space is a concept you need to learn with any hero if you want to be a master at positioning. Here I decide to run to the left and get to the next high ground. Similarly, if Roadhog charges left, I'd probably want to go right and get to the high ground over there. Also, many heroes like Bastion or Reaper that rely on surprise greatly benefit from repositioning often so the enemy doesn't know where you are. Another factor that can greatly impact your positioning are cooldowns. For example, if you're McCree and you miss your flashbang, your effectiveness is greatly reduced. Or let's take a look at this Reaper and Roadhog here. I hear and see Roadhog's hook miss, so I go in for the kill. I know it's a lot safer for me now. So always be mindful of enemy cooldowns and your own cooldowns and adjust your position accordingly. The last topic I want to touch on briefly are spawn locations. Setting up too closely to an enemy spawn location is always a bad idea. Even if you do kill them a couple times out of spawn, they're eventually going to overrun you. If you kill them, they have like a 2-second run back, but if they kill you, you have to take an absurdly long time to get back to the point. Essentially, the risk is really high and the reward is very low. So in summary, you need to be aware of your surroundings so you can make informed decisions, take advantage of the high ground when you can to give you an edge over your opponent, understand your zone and your enemy's zone, know that the zones are constantly changing with the pace of the game and with cooldowns, and do not set up too closely to the enemy spawn. Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video. This is certainly not everything you need to know about positioning, but I think it's a good start. If you have your own positioning tips, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Please subscribe and check out my Twitch and Patreon if you enjoyed the content and want to see more in the future. See you later.